Real Time, Episode 8. I'm joined by Boyce. It's going to be another two-man show. Yeah, but yeah, Eric literally just texted me
Yeah.
saying he's going to sit this one out. He had a headache, or has a headache currently, and so did I, funny enough. Earlier, I had a bit of a headache, and I was like, it wasn't anything terrible. Like, I knew I was still going to be able to do the show, but I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I don't think I'm beating these caffeine addiction allegations because I had coffee and I actually feel significantly better. And I always like to deny it. I'm like, I'm not. No, that's
Gotcha.
fine. I don't. I'm not a caffeine addict. But then, like, I went to work in the morning one day. It was like 8 a.m. and I walk. I like to take my like this little mug that I have that like keeps your coffee warm, and I took it with me, and I was excited. So I'm gonna walk in here and get some coffee. I went into the break room, and there wasn't any left, and I was like actually mad. I'm like, maybe I do have a bit of a problem. I don't know.
Uh, I'd say that's pretty much a normal thing. At where I work, we kind of have coffee every morning in the break room, and sadly, I've kind of become withdrawn from coffee for a bit, and as a consequence, I'm a bit more tired when I get home after work. But even then, it's just the heat. The heat is what's giving me the headache.
Yeah, that's fair. I What's funny is I'm not even like a guy who's like, oh, I need to drink coffee for energy. Sure, that's part of it, but I also just enjoy it. So I don't know. Like right now, I feel a little bit jittery. I ain't gonna lie, but that's good. I need some energy for the pod. So what have
Energy
you been
for the
up to,
pod.
boys?
Well, this past week I've been cleaning up over at my place, rearranging some books, my movie collection, as well as selling off a few items I haven't watched or read in years. And with that, I've been able to come into some great collectibles, which sounds weird saying because as a kid, like collectibles were just 99 cents at GameStop.
Man, speaking of that, I'm super jealous of you right now because you got a PS2.
Yep. And it's like the first PS2 I had, well, the one that belonged to me at first, I had tried testing that out initially, and it turned on, but then it wasn't reading any discs. And when I opened it back up to see what it was, the disc reading tape or material that was there before, it just disappeared, almost like it was never there or it dissolved or something.
Wow, it's impressive that you still had it at least.
But
Mine is lost.
mine was just in my dresser for almost 12 or 13 years, and
Wow,
that was the first time it had been plugged up since.
that's insane. I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I still had mine. I don't even know if it would work, but I don't know. Those were some formative years on that thing. And I feel like there's this resurgence of like people like, because literally my buddy Miles texted me randomly. He was like, I was cleaning out my garage and I found my PS2, and I was like, "Are you kidding?" And I was so jealous. He had like a copy of GTA San Andreas in there. I was like, "Oh man, that's insane." When we moved houses, my PS2 got put in
It's hard.
storage, and then I think we got rid of that storage, and so now it's just gone. So there's that.
It actually, it actually turns out that I had a copy of San Andreas, and I didn't even know about it until I went through my. I have this red box full of DVDs and discs that I used to watch or play a lot as a kid, and it turned out San Andreas was in it, and I only discovered that it was in there the other night when I hooked it all up.
That's so cool. Funny enough, as much as like that was like a huge Grand Theft Auto game for me, so I would say I played that more than Vice City and Three, but I've never beat it. I've never once beat that game.
What makes it stand out for me is the fact that I almost got skipped out on high school project graduation just so I could play GTA San Andreas when I had the PS4, when it had the trilogy collection on PSN.
Yeah, yeah, man. There are just some games that like I just wish I could have access to again, and like the main one I always think of from the PS2 era is Simpsons Hit and Run. Like I just wish I could play that game again, somehow, some way.
You know, that was almost like the precursor to, on how GTA 5 you could just randomly hit pedestrians and the way they'd react.
Yeah,
Like, I kind of see Simpsons Hit and Run as like a more lighthearted comedic version of that. And if it were to be remastered or remade today, like, it would make a killing, I bet.
it definitely would. There was like, wasn't there like a fan remake that somebody did? That's like, I don't know it's if it's accessible or not. I don't actually know because I know they recently finished it, if I'm not mistaken. But it's really really cool, and it's funny because it like I look at it, I'm like this is what the game looked like to me when I played it back in the day. It's like when they re-released Crash Bandicoot, I was just like, wait, it didn't always look like this.
That's also kind of like it's so funny you mention that because it's like when you go back and play an older game, it's not really entirely disappointing because you're getting that feel of nostalgia, but the slight disappointment is just when you realize it doesn't look as you envisioned it back then.
Yeah, exactly. Something about it though. It's still like, oh, there's this charm to it. Even for games that you don't have nostalgia for, sometimes I'll go back and play classics I've never played. And I'm just like, I don't know, something about this that's like drawn me in.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I haven't really been doing much. I finished my Assassin's Creed video, so I've just been like, I haven't been playing as much Assassin's Creed. It's kind of nice. Like as fun as that video was, I got kind of tired of like having to play certain games for footage and stuff like that. And now that that's done, I'm at a point where I can just like play whatever I want. And I've been playing through Life is Strange. Like I've been playing through those games, getting the platinums because they're really easy. They're just collectibles. And plus, I haven't like played those games since like high school. So it was like nice to play them again, have a bit of a refresher on what even happened in the story because I really didn't remember much from the story. And I played through Before the Storm. I played through the first game, and now I'm currently on two, and I'm having a good time. They're actually pretty. I don't know what it is about those games that's like the dialogue isn't the greatest. Some of the acting is a little bit weird, but like there's something about those games that just are really good, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. Like for one, they're visually like very appealing, like the cinematography, and like it feels like one of those like coming of age A24 movies. Sometimes it's just I don't know. Like it's strange. There's something strange about Life is Strange that I can't quite pinpoint, but those games are pretty neat. I ain't gonna lie. Like as much as I like to like poke fun at them, I'm like there's something here that is actually really really good. So I've been enjoying going through those, uh, and yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I just started replaying Watch Dogs because I bought the Watch Dogs Legion Bloodline DLC on sale, and I haven't played the first Watch Dogs in a minute, so I'm replaying that. Then I'm gonna play Bloodline to see how it like stacks up against it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been up to.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like you've really like gaming journalism, like that's something that you excelled at with the AC video, especially since I myself hadn't played Syndicate yet at all. And I'll even say that it's great that you're able to like return to that storytelling with Life is Strange and Watch Dogs, especially right after. Almost like a rebreather, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's like just kind of nice being able to just I don't know. It was weird almost. Like, because I feel like even since I've been on summer vacation, I've still been kind of busy, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to like really just sit and I don't know, just play something for purely just for fun, just because I want to. And so I'm like, I remember one day I had like a day off, and I was just like sitting there, and I was like looking at games. I was like, I don't know what I want to play, and I reinstalled Infamous Second Son, actually, funny enough, because I was like, how can I want to play this? I haven't played it. It was at the bottom of my library because I haven't played it literally since probably around the time I first got my PS4. That was back in 2015. So it's been a long time since I played that game, and I was like, I kind of want to revisit this. And I don't know, I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm on a high right now. I have a whole list of games. I'm actually going to read them off to you, and I want you to tell me if it's like realistic for me to get through them in like one summer. Because I had a summer games list last year. I think I showed you that, and I there were some games I didn't get to. But yeah, here we go. Okay. And some of I'm not going to read the ones I've already played, but there are a bunch on here. There's Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, the Platinum, Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, Platinum, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception, Platinum, Life is Strange 2, Platinum. That's what I've just started playing. Cana, Bridge of Spirits, The Pathless, Lake, Season, A Letter to the Future, Guilt, Jusant, question mark, maybe, Planet of Lana, question mark, Dead Island 2, I need to get back to that, Evil West, The Order 1886, I've never played it, but I want to check it out, Infamous Second Son, the Metro trilogy, Hellblades, Cineba's Sacrifice, Alan Wake Control, Alan Wake 2. What do you think? Is that realistic?
Honestly, I'd say that's pretty realistic. I mean, uh, Platinum and Uncharted. I mean, since you've already played through those before, presumably, like those should be some easy, quick platinums for you.
Yeah, we'll see. Cause
And
like,
then it's almost like if yeah, you could distinguish the ones that you haven't already played yet, then I think you should progress through it like pretty quickly, especially on those Remedy games you mentioned.
true. Cause some of these are gonna be replays. Cause I always like the replay games every day. Uncharted, I feel like at this point it's almost like an annual summer thing for me. Cause they're like summer blockbuster movies. So I just feel like I'm always like, oh, I feel like playing Uncharted. But I've played them so many times that I can beat them really fast. But it's a matter of like platinuming them. And I honestly never thought that I would want, or not that I would want, but I never thought I actually would platinum an Uncharted game until I platinum the Legacy of Thieves collection, which has 101 trophies because it's both the trophy list for Uncharted 4 and A Lost Legacy. And when I grinded that out, I was like, okay, I feel like I can do anything. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do the original 3. They're just so, the only thing that really like deters me is the finding all the treasures, because all the other trophies they seem a little tedious, but like they aren't anything crazy, whereas like that is just, I don't like collectible trophies in general, but especially in like Uncharted, like the collectibles in The Last of Us are actually fun because for one they're like cleverly implemented. They're like fun to like find and figure out and stuff like that. And there's also like one of those things where like you find these things and they provide like lore and stuff like that. It's like actually really really interesting. Because I remember when I was platinuming The Last of Us games, I was like discovering stuff that I didn't even realize was in the game. I was like, oh, that's really cool. But with Uncharted, the treasures are just like arbitrarily placed throughout different levels, and it's really annoying because like I'll look up some of the things and I'm just like, who would have thought to even look here? And it's like if you don't use guides and you're just kind of running around and like looking at every nook and cranny of like the levels because you never know where one is. And so those have always like turned me off to it. But I feel like once you get past that, all the other stuff is pretty easy, especially because I've played these games so many times. I've already unlocked quite a few of the trophies. A big one too is also the difficulty, because I don't think I've ever played any of the original 3 on anything other than normal, if I'm not mistaken. And normal is really difficult. So I'm like terrified to play. I think I can't remember if it's crushing or brutal they have to do for the trophy, but it really scares me. And I think to minimize playthroughs, I almost want to like I would love, as much as I would love to split it up and do a playthrough where I try to get all the treasures, and then a playthrough where I just focus on getting through the game on the hardest difficulty. To minimize how many like playthroughs I have to do, I almost want to do the same thing and like play on crushing, but also try to get all of the collectibles. But that might be tough because I don't want it to get too hard and then I give up and then that's just it. So I'll probably just separate the playthroughs. I don't know. It's actually really intimidating though.
Honestly, I'd say crushing, like if it were me, I would probably maybe do crushing first because I mean, regardless of how many playthroughs, the likelihood of finding all the trophies in just the one, it would be a bit of a head scratcher for me at least.
That's true. That's why I was saying I would probably pull up a guide because even when I was doing the Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy, I was looking on my own, but then I would like miss stuff and I'll be like, where could this be? Then I would look it up and it would be in a spot that I would have never even thought to look. So I'm like, to avoid that, I almost want to just like use a guide throughout. But it'd probably be better to just do like a difficulty playthrough. That way all I have to do is focus on getting through the game. So I could probably just do a playthrough where I get the collectibles and do all the other miscellaneous trophies, and then just do a playthrough where I focus on getting through the game on the hardest difficulty.
And like for crushing, compared to now that I think about it, I've never even considered playing Uncharted on crushing difficulty. Like,
The
what would
only
that
one I've
even
done it
look
for
like?
is 4, but
I
4
wonder.
isn't that hard. That's not true. Lost Legacy 2. But those games aren't nearly as hard as the earlier games.
Yeah, because they have those more quality of life features for them being on the PS4 generation.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like when I play it, like I've played through on Crushing legitimately before, but most other times I just turn on those cheats and I just I put on lock on aim and I use like one of the more powerful handguns and just blow people away. That's what I had to do because when I was going for the platinum for the Uncharted 4, I in one playthrough I did complete the game with 70% accuracy or higher. A speed run trophy where I had to beat it in 6 hours or less, and it was on crushing. So I did all 3 of those in one playthrough. There might have been another one in there somewhere, but it was really intense because there would be times where I would be in like a gunfight and I would have to keep restarting because I kept dying, and I kept like checking the time to see where I was, and it was like getting really really close to 6 hours, and I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to like pull this off because I was trying to avoid having to do another playthrough. And then it was crazy. I kept like looking at my stats to see where my accuracy was and everything, and I was like in the 60s. I'm just like, please get up, please get up. And man, by the end of it though, seeing those three trophies pop was so satisfying. I was like, yes, I did it. I think I beat it at like 5 hours and 40 something minutes. I want to say it was really close. I was cutting it close, but I did it.
Eric, if you can do that, you can do Dark Souls.
You know, I've been thinking a lot about those. I've been thinking a lot about those games. Sometimes I think about like some of the more difficult things I've accomplished in games, and then I'm like, I could play Dark Souls. And then I think about it some more, and I'm like, oh, maybe. But you know what recently made me do that is, you know how Kai Cenat was like playing Elden Ring on stream.
Hmm.
That's like, like hearing about his struggle and all that. But then like, you know, seeing that he like beat the game and everything, I was like, it made me go, I could do that. Like, you ever see someone do something and you're like, that if that person can do it, so can I. That was Kai for me. I don't even watch Kai. I was just like, if he can do that, then I can. Because he doesn't even seem like a Souls gamer.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, it's the fact that we've been gaming for like 10 plus years, and of course, Dark Souls is its own significant brand of tough. Like, it's definitely doable.
I've considered going like putting myself through like some like my own kind of like training. So I would play like maybe like difficult platformers like Crash or something like that to like teach myself like patience. Then play something like Souls like almost like Star Wars Jedi to like kind of get me into it. And then play like something like I don't know Lies of P. I don't know, just gotta like kind of like train myself for like those kind of like the things that you run into in different Souls games. And then like yeah I don't know
Hmm.
finally play like I don't know. I feel like if I were to start with any, it'd probably be Demon Souls because I've heard that one is one of the easier ones. But I know it also really depends on who you ask because some people would say the Elden Ring is the most easy. But I also don't know if I want to start with an open world Souls game. I need something more focused. And I also don't know if I want to start with
I
like
think
I don't know. I don't know if I want to start with a Souls like or a Souls born. I almost feel like I should start with a Souls born because then it'll make the Souls likes more easier.
I think order of release is good because I mean, Demon Souls technically was like the first ever Souls game released when it came out on PS3 back in '09. And I remember I had picked it up when I was a kid, and I was just confused the entire time. I like when I pressed pause and the fact the game still kept going, it just threw me off so much.
Wait, wait, are those? Wait, you can't pause those games?
It's like you could technically like press the button and you'll just go to a menu, but then like the world still keeps going. Like if you press that button and an enemy can still come up behind you and kill you, like it doesn't really let you rest like that.
Well, man, I don't know, man. One of these days, one of these days, I genuinely do feel like I would probably start with Demon Souls. I almost wanted to start with Bloodborne just because it was part of the PlayStation Plus collection, but I think Demon Souls might be where I start. Simply because, like you said, it is like the first one. That's where the genre was born. So I feel like it's only right. I would play the remake though, because that's the only one I have access to.
And plus, because of how it doesn't really hold your hand in the beginning, and it's like debatably gets easier with each Soulsborne entry, you'll have like a natural progression in a way.
Yeah, that's what I always hear from like people who like talk about their experiences with the games. It's like I started off, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and then by the end, you like kind of you get into a rhythm, and then you just feel unstoppable. I'm just like I've heard that so many times, and I feel like that's what would happen because that's what happened when I played Sifu. When I first played Sifu, I was like, oh man, this game is gonna be kind of hard. And then I just was wrecking fools after like practicing. So you know, I think it's possible. I think I just sell myself short sometimes.
Yep. After all, failure in video games is never the opposite of success. Internalize it.
Facts. Oh man. But with that, ready to get into our topics.
For sure.
All right, we got quite a few things. We're going to start with the Black Ops 6 news. I didn't even realize we were on Black Ops 6. That's crazy. But Black Ops 6 will be on
Honestly,
Game Pass day one, and it'll also be on last gen consoles. I think the Game Pass thing is more crazy than last
that
gen
seems like
consoles.
you're telling me like that is a lot of blind faith in a way that it'll make a great return on sales just from Game Pass being a factor.
Yeah, because realistically, a lot of those loyal uh, Call of Duty fans probably won't. If they don't already have Game Pass, they probably aren't going to buy a subscription to buy COD. They'll probably just buy COD. because a lot of like the hardcore COD people, that's one of the main games that they play.
And really good. It seems almost like a test run in a way. Like maybe they may or may not have the best faith in it because, like, it's featured on last gen consoles and it's being used as kind of like to get more Game Pass subscriptions, presumably. It really does make you question, like, what are they trying to do exactly? I mean, of course, make money, but are they going the best way about it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting, but I mean, even with that though, like I feel like, do you think that these are correlated in any way? Like it also come out on last gen because they know they'll get even more sales from that hardware.
Yeah, I think that could also be a case because even based on Modern Warfare 3, I don't know if Treyarch is on Black Ops 6 or if it's the same team from Modern Warfare or not, but considering how that was essentially scrapped DLC from what I heard, it almost seems like they're trying to cheapen the load a bit, Activision at least.
Yeah, and I'm because the funny thing is I don't even really keep up with Call of Duty like that. I'm very sporadic when it comes to the releases I play, and I also only really play the campaigns. Like I'll dabble in multiplayer, but ever since they've been weird about my favorite game mode, gun game. They like kind of they took for one they took it out of Modern Warfare, and then they moved it over to Black Ops Cold War. And they took it out of the Cold War, and they put it in Modern Warfare 2. That was the main place I was able to play it. But once I beat the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, I had to delete the game because it was just too big, and so I couldn't play that game mode. Whereas with Modern Warfare, which is on my PS4 hard drive, I could just hop in anytime I wanted, and it was great. But and even with this new launcher too, like I don't know, Call of Duty is just like doing a lot of things that I don't really care for, and and like I said, I didn't even realize we were on Black Ops 6. So like this is really kind of um, above me. Like I don't know.
When did Black Oh, wait, that was Cold War. Never mind. But Black Ops 4, that was the one that was just multiplayer only, right?
It was, yeah. I always mix up if it was 3 or 4 because I never hear anything about the 3 campaign. Was it bad?
I heard that it was maybe just meh. I mean, not the worst campaign, but also not the best either. Like, it just seemed decent enough, even though it still kept with like that future sci-fi vibe.
Yeah, which a lot of people weren't vibing with by the end of that era. I thought Advanced
But the
Warfare was it
first two
Advanced
Black
Warfare or
Ops, I
Infinite
mean,
Warfare that was cool. Can't remember, but
uh, Infinite Warfare was the one with the space travel, and Advanced was the one with Kevin Spacey.
it was Advanced that I thought was cool. Sorry to cut you off. What were you saying about the first two?
Oh, no worries. But like for me at least, Black Ops 1 and 2, like those are like the prime highlights of Call of Duty, aside from the original Modern Warfare trilogy.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I hear a lot because I never played those old ones. I've watched people play them, but I never got into them myself because that was the era where I wasn't into Call of Duty yet. And but I always knew that the campaigns were really really cool. Just from the little bit that I saw, I remember watching like my stepdad play through. I think it was Black Ops. I want to say it was the first Black Ops, and he was like on this mission in like the jungle or whatever, and I was just like enraptured. I was like, oh, what's happening? Yeah, it was really really cool. But I'm just I don't know. I'm pretty impressed with that they were able to at least come back a little bit from where Black Ops was headed though, because a lot of people really didn't like 3 and 4.
Yeah, like give us the I still haven't even played Cold War yet, but I really want to. But
It was solid.
if I
That's
find that Black that it had like multiple choice styles, right?
yeah, here and there, but nothing like significant.
That's kind of the funny thing I think about when it comes to Black Ops, like the way they're set it like in the very future and just make up their own story that could be, well, in some people's view, generic, like any generic action shooter, but also take us back to like a deep story that's set like in the 80s, 70s, or 60s, even though that's probably the story arc that I prefer.
Yeah, the setting was really cool. They actually did a lot with it, and I don't know, it just had some really cool moments to me. I really enjoyed it. It was like one of the more small scale ones. It didn't get like too crazy like the Modern Warfare ones do, but I think it's like a solid little experience. Like if you have like a day or two to just like play something, I would give it a shot. I can't remember. Wasn't it on? Oh, sorry, I bumped the mic. Wasn't it on PlayStation Plus? I think that's how I played it. I can't recall. I don't think I bought it, if I'm being honest.
I think I'd probably have to wait for it to go on sale because Call of Duty games on Xbox, at least, they go on sale so often every few
Oh,
months.
really? I didn't know that. I didn't know they did. Because every time I look at them, I'm like, this is weirdly expensive for an old game.
$40 for Call of Duty Black Ops 2010. It's something so strange, unless it's the physical disc copy, but to pay that much for it on digital, no thanks.
Yeah, exactly. That's why a part of me really just wants like to upgrade to an X at some point, just so I can at least have like those physical games can work.
Yeah.
Because I would really love to like go back and play some of those older Call of Duty campaigns that I didn't get to, um, without having to pay an arm and a leg for it. But it is what it is. I'll get to it eventually.
Same.
What do you think of it being on last gen consoles? Do you think we should be like past this point, or do you think it like makes sense for a Call of Duty game?
I feel like if they think that they can put in just enough to retain some of the older players, or because I'm almost viewing it in the same way as a movie producer or studio might view a blockbuster picture. Like they make it accessible for both gens just to try and maximize sales a bit, but at the same time, it's really scaling back the potential to do something refreshing with the franchise, which sounds funny just saying that, but it's like I think it could work if they're looking to maximize profit, but it just doesn't seem like it's pushing the series forward in any way on a technical level, at least.
Yeah, yeah. I it does. Sometimes I really think about it because like I didn't get my PlayStation 4 until 2015, which is only a couple years after it came out. But when it was late 2015, I think it was like in November. But even still, it was like I don't know. I felt like I was just coming into the middle of a generation. For one, I wanted one so bad because I just couldn't play new games that were coming out. I literally couldn't because they weren't releasing them on the consoles I had. And so I remember like when I got my PS5, I didn't get my PS5 until March 2021, which was fairly early considering how hard it was to get one back at that time. But I remember I was like so excited to have the latest thing and to be able to play all the new games. But like realistically, it's like if you went this long without having a PS5, there are only a few titles that you're missing out on. And I don't know. It's like even if you waited till the end of the generation, once you got one, you would be able to catch up on those few titles fairly quickly. That's not to be one of those people where like, oh, like you can just like it's not worth it. You just stick with the PS4 and you'll be fine. Which to those that don't care, that's fine. But I personally do like to have like the best of the best, not the best of the best. If I want the best of the best, I would have a PC. But in terms of console hardware, I do like to have the most powerful thing that I can have, like realistically. So, and it's even like even with the rumored
maximum
PS5
power.
Pro. Yeah, even with the rumored PS5 Pro, like as much as I'd love to have a PS5 Pro. It's also like, but these games aren't even really taking advantage of that hardware, are they? It's just gonna like make your games look a little bit better, which, like I said, I love as a console gamer who can't like go and mod games and make them look visually like incredible, or bump their settings all the way up. So I have to kind of do what the console allows me, and therefore I want to have the most powerful thing that I can have so that I can do that. But even with that mindset, it's like, but you're not getting those powerful experience you can because this game is also on last gen hardware. So it's like, I don't know. Like I said, for Call of Duty, I can kind of see it more. Even though Call of Duty games are usually visually really good, they don't. I guess they just don't require that level of power with what they're doing. I don't know. That's where I'm at on it. It can be frustrating, but it's also not too big of a deal. Like, it'll be different. Like, I don't know. I feel like by 2026, I'm being honest, if we're still getting a bunch of cross-gen games, that's gonna be. I'm gonna look back at this generation and be like, I don't know, man. That's the whole console life cycle.
I think GTA 6, from based on what you're saying, I feel like maybe GTA 6 could be the one to really break the mold and just say to everyone, never look back.
Yeah, I imagine they're like, hey, coming to PS4. No, I'm just kidding. Then they already announced that it's just gonna be current gen, right? And no
Yeah,
PC,
I think
so
so.
they're really gonna. I'm pretty. I'm actually really, really excited to see what they can do with that game, technically, with everything they've done with just GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, and even Red Dead Redemption 1 before it. Like, I'm really excited to see how their engine has improved.
And like they chose the best setting for that. I mean, Florida. I mean, wildest place to see things you probably wouldn't have never seen before in any other GTA game.
Exactly. Like, oh man, I can't. Sometimes I'll play Vice City and I'll be driving around. I'm like, I can't wait to see what this place looks like in GTA 6. Like you go to like the mall and you're like, I can't wait to see how dense this and real this place is gonna look in GTA. Like, oh man, it's so exciting. Or like the canals and stuff like that, the water, the beaches. I'm like, oh, this is gonna look insane. I can't wait for it.
Like all the closest thing that people even have for a reference point of what to expect is technically Vice City and Red Dead Redemption 2. And just imagining the fact that they put that much level of detail and intricacy into Red Dead, it's just I'm I'm just tempering my expectations for it just so I can feel genuinely surprised when it comes out.
Yeah. And I don't expect them to go quite as far as with Red Dead, because I feel like with those games they are trying to make a more realistic, grounded experience. And I feel like with GTA they have a little bit of those things, but I also don't feel like they'll go quite as far with it, simply because it is still GTA. And I feel like if GTA went too realistic, a lot of people wouldn't be happy with it, which I can see. So I feel like they'll have those like little details, but they won't make you like, oh, you have to bathe and eat and clean your weapons kind of details. They'll probably just, or even body looting, if they even have that. I feel like a lot of those details will probably be left out, which I think GTA will be better for that.
Yeah, like just retain the DNA.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see what riding a motorcycle is gonna look like. Like you know how you play like the older games like GTA San Andreas and stuff, and you see like their shirt like moving when you're on a motorcycle. That's gonna look even crazier in this game. Like, it's gonna look real. Like you say GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 are good reference points. I think real life is a good reference point for what this game is gonna look like. Like, it's gonna be crazy.
And especially if it has first person on
Oh
launch, I mean,
man,
that's probably what I try
it
to
probably
mostly
will. I'd be
play it
surprised
on.
if it didn't.
Gosh, that just honestly, it's harder to temper my expectations now that you just said that.
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't, especially with Red Dead Redemption 2 having it. I think that might be the new standard now for those games. Man, I'm not fantasizing about a game we won't get to play until fall of next year if we're lucky. Oh man,
No
speaking of things,
worries. I mean, all of next year, it's just tomorrow.
yeah, hopefully. But speaking of things coming next year, The Last of Us Season 2 is coming next year. And we just got recent news that Jeffrey Wright is reprising his role as Isaac. Which makes sense. Is he the only one from the game that's going to be in the show?
Presumably, Merle Dandridge, if you factor in the Marlene Small scene from the first
Oh, yeah,
from
that's
the
right.
part two
Yeah.
video game.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that was her.
But it just feels crazy to even think. I mean, even though he wasn't nominated for an Oscar at the time of Part Two's release, the fact that you had an Oscar nominee in a PlayStation video game, that's pretty much goated.
Yeah. I and I've just been looking at some of the other casts too on X, or I'm not going to call it that, on Twitter, and it's actually really, like, I think they did a pretty good job, especially with like the newcomers. I think they did a solid job with casting.
Yeah, they've really kept it kind of faithful and yet true to the world of The Last of Us, I feel like. I mean, of course, an actor acts the age of the character, but even then, I think like the age differences, if that were to be a factor in the show, it's realistic. I mean, they're not all going to be like a bunch of young adult or teen characters. Like, they're just going to vary. Like, it's a diverse world.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I don't even get why people keep complaining about Bella Ramsey not looking Ellie's age.
I will say that is a concern of mine as well. Um, just simply because I want to pull up one of these official screenshots that they released last of season 2, because one of them, somebody pointed out a detail, and it was like the year was 2029, like they were celebrating New Year 2029. So people were saying it's like, oh, it's gonna be a 6-year time jump instead of a 4-year, which I think is insane. That's a really long time. But also the fact that
Great.
Bella Ramsey doesn't look like she's aged a day, which, mind you, we haven't seen the show. So I think a lot of what, because obviously Bella Ramsey is like a grown adult, so she's not really gonna change much. But I think a big part of how they're gonna remedy that is like through how she is, like as opposed to like her look. It's like, yeah, she can still look the same, but also act and sound a lot older than she was. And I think that's what this is gonna be, if I'm being honest. Um, which I have
Yeah,
full faith in Bella Ramsey, because I really, really like her as Ellie, like a whole lot in season 1. So I'm not completely like writing her off like, oh, she she's too old to play that part, because she's not gonna look like she's aged. But I genuinely think that they're gonna go the route of like making her sound and act a little bit older than she was, so that it really comes across.
yeah, and plus, I mean, there's like you said, it's really just all in the writing and the script, like yeah, and performances, because that's what it really comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, and like especially because like Bella Ramsey would be playing someone who's literally her actual age. Because I want to say she's like 20 or something. Hang on, let me see. And I feel like that might be why they did it, because they were like, oh, if she's this age, if we do a 6-year time jump, then she would be her little. Yeah, she's 20. So like I think that might be why they're going the longer time jump. So it's like she's 14, then 6 years later she's 20, which is like her actual age. So I guess they're like, people can't say it's not realistic because she's literally her age. So I feel like that might have something to do with it. But I think she's gonna do great because I mean I really really liked her in season 1. I think she's a phenomenal Ellie, to be honest. So I hope she continues to be that.
Definitely. And it's funny. Like the only thing I couldn't stop gushing over when those still photos came out was shaggy hair Pedro Pascal.
He looks great.
And it like if you were to squint and if someone were to show you that screenshot, you would almost think it was a still from the game, like from the actual
Yeah,
cutscene
literally,
almost.
it looks just like it. Like I think they did such a good job of like capturing that feeling and that look of the game, especially with the remakes and remasters. Like they look so good. How do you feel about
And
season 2 overall,
uh,
boys? I just want to ask you, do you think that it's gonna do well, like in terms of what happens?
I feel like I think it could do well because I mean, nowadays I feel like of course audiences are more critical now than they have been in years, but
True.
I
Yeah.
think it's definitely gonna shock people initially, but then if it's people who decide or feel well enough to, carry on, stick out and figure out what the story is going to say, I think that's good. And I mean, the thing is that, and I know this from watching Game of Thrones, the thing audience members love most is to see when they think a character is going to get what's coming to them. And I think that's exactly why they'll stick around to keep watching season two.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
Now,
yeah. I don't
will
think.
will they actually get that?
Yeah, I think that people will respond well, fairly well to Joel's death simply because strictly TV audiences don't. I don't think they formed that attachment that people did for the like, because The Last of Us came out in 2013, and it's a long, like, video games are longer, and they had more time to like be with that character, replay that game, re-experience that story, and just like form this attachment that I don't think that the TV audiences will have with Joel. Like they'll probably view it as like, oh man, that's sad, but they aren't gonna be like, yo, they just killed my boy Joel. Like you know what I mean? So I feel like yeah, a lot of TV audiences will be like devastated and sad, but they aren't gonna be like sending death threats to anyone over the death, because people die in TV all the time. People die in video games all the time, but that's a different thing, I guess, according to gamers. But I think it'll go over well. I just personally, I think that I'm gonna keep it real here. I like to keep it real on real time. All right, I'm gonna say this. I think they're gonna fumble this season. I really do. I don't think they'll do it justice. I don't think they did the first game justice, if I'm being honest, in season 1. As much as I like season 1, I thought it was cool. I don't think they quite did the game justice. I don't think they'll do the game justice here. And I think that the only way that they really can is if they split this arc up, or split the season up into 2 parts. That, or have season 2 be one arc and season 3 be the other arc. I don't think, like, if they do a whole another, how many episodes was season 1? 8?
Nine.
9? Yeah, I just feel like if they do another 9 episode season, and like that, I don't feel like what they were trying to get across in the game will come across nearly as well in TV, because I feel like with adapting video games, I feel like the really the only two mediums that you can really do it to where it works really well is books and TV. Like movies can work, sure, but like not quite to the extent, because with video games are like a lot of time in the double digits in terms of how long they are, depending. Like video games can take a long time to beat, and then you replay them, and you spend so much time with these characters. And plus, video games have something that no other medium has, which is gameplay sections. And especially when it comes to Naughty Dog games, they really take advantage of those gameplay sections for exposition and storytelling and character development. And when you're just kind of watching a show, you don't get much of that, not nearly as much as you do when playing the games. And so I feel like naturally gamers who play these games form those attachments and have those more deeper rooted emotional connections, and therefore what they went for with part 2 had a much bigger impact, whether it was positive or negative to the player, than I feel like season 2 of this show would have for people who are watching it. And so like I said, I feel like the only way they'll really like even come close to getting that to land is if they really give this season and this arc the time it needs. And I don't think that'll be 9 episodes. Mind you, they haven't announced how many episodes this season is going to be. I hope it's in the teens, or at least double digits, I hope. But I just don't think that they'll be able to cover it all in a single season. I don't know, unless they make it a long season, but I doubt they'll do that. So I honestly think that they might fumble. Like I said, I think it'll be good though. I think I'll really enjoy it, like I did season 1. But I just don't think it'll be quite as impactful as they would like, maybe, unless they aren't going for that. And even still, I also feel like this could also be a chance for them to remedy some of the things that kind of fell flat in the game. Even though I don't know if they will. I don't know if Neil Druckmann is sticking to his guns and he's like, no, it's going to be the exact same way. But either way, I still think that like a lot of like the TV audiences will enjoy it, and so will I. I just don't think that it'll be quite as emotionally impactful as the game was.
Yeah, because it does kind of make you question that though, because I mean, when I look back at The Last of Us Part 2, like the thing I always felt weird about was just the pacing. Because it's like you go through Ellie's few days in Seattle, which pretty much feels way too short if you were to view her as the main character, which I mean she is, but then when you go into Abby's section, it almost feels slightly longer in a way. Well, I guess because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
pretty much the only game you have is her.
yeah. No,
But
I definitely think.
yeah, if they did, like, they probably would have to split it up into 2 parts. And of course, it does seem kind of worrying with the fact that it feels like they might have cast Jeffrey Wright a little too early, unless they're doing a flashback episode on that photo.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think they'll do a great job, and I think that this, and who knows, this might blow me away. I might watch and be like, man, they handled this better than they did the game, which is very much possible because, I mean, you and I both liked The Last of Us Part 2 overall, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Almost definitely.
Yeah, yeah, and now over time, like with replaying it and stuff, more of the flaws have kind of like, shown for me. But even with that, I still think it did something that I had never seen in a game before, and really like pushed the medium. And I don't want to sound like oh, it's like it changed video games forever. It did something super innovative. I wouldn't say that, but I think in terms of like storytelling, like it definitely did something that most games don't have the balls to do. And I
To
don't know, and
me,
especially
it
for a
almost
sequel.
reminded. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Sorry.
Like, for me, it almost. Oh, you're all right. For me, it almost reminded me of like those older games that came out in the 2000s, like Metal Gear Solid 2,
Like with
the switch
writing.
they did with making. Yeah, and it kind of played with the players' emotions in a way, not really in a bad way, but just it really made them take consideration of and make them review the game, well, both games in a certain light. But really, it kind of actually, gosh, I hope I don't sound like I'm writing it as much, but like it even kind of did what Silent Hill 2 did, which was kind of reinvigorate and re reassert that gaming be an art form.
Yeah, definitely. Like I feel like, and especially for the type of games that I really like, right? It's like I've heavily considered. Well, from what I've suggested, my mom watch like the Last of Us show. But I don't know. There have been times where I've like almost wanted, because my mom has told me like my mom's not really a gamer, but she plays like retro games and stuff like that. Like she's really good at Pac-Man and stuff like that. But like she told me that she doesn't really like games like that anymore because she's like, oh, they like tell stories and like stuff like that. And I don't find that like interesting. I'd rather just like play the game. And like I don't know, sometimes and I've been showing her some of like the stuff I do, and like I sent her like the AC video, and she like really liked it. But I sometimes I really just like I would just want to sit my mom down and just like play The Last of Us in front of her and show her like, hey, this is what games can be. This is what they can do with storytelling. And because The Last of Us just was one of those games for me, and especially like part two. And I almost feel like it's one of those things where it's like no matter how you feel about it, like it was impactful. Like it definitely left um, an impact on you as a player. You know, whether you love it or hate it. And so I don't know. I just think it's like a really really cool and brave game. And do I think that Neil, you know, I don't know, like the way he responds to some of the like the criticism of it, it's like no, it's perfect. Which I don't, you know, I think some of the criticism is fair as long as it's not, you know, people being, you know, rude and bigoted and all that stuff. But you know, because some people do have valid criticism of the game, but I think overall, man, I think that they really, really, I don't know. I want to say it landed for me. Like for the longest time, I was really conflicted about the game, but I think that what they were doing really lands. Um, Simply because of like what The Last of Us is. Like, yeah, you can view The Last of Us as Joel and Ellie's journey. You can do that, but I don't think that's what it is. It's like, I mean, it's in the title. It's The Last of Us, and not just the last of, you know, the people that remain after the apocalypse, but the last of our humanity, and like what things like love, like hate, like what those things do to a person, what they drive them to do, and the things that people do to survive. And I don't know, it's just like really interesting. So like you can look at Joel as like the hero of The Last of Us, but he's not though. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, Joel had it coming or anything like that. I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, Joel wasn't a saint. He wasn't like a fantastic person, and neither's Abby, neither's Ellie. Nobody in the story is perfect. Nobody, there's no good, there's no bad, there's no, you know, bad, and then there's worse or like lesser of two evils or anything like that. I think it's just literally just The Last of Us. You know, that's just what it is. There are no winners and losers. There are no heroes and villains. It's just, hey, this is like The Last of Us is very much about like humans. It's at its core. It's about what people do, and I feel like Last of Us Part 2 really like encapsulates that concept, and that's why I think it's brilliant. Not as a sequel to Joel and Ellie's story, but just as a entry in the series.
Hmm. Right, because I think the worst mistake anyone could do is just come in and viewing the story as black and white.
Yeah, it's definitely not that.
Like it's all just about the attachments. Like I mean, of course, like when you take out the fireflies to save Ellie, or when you're playing as Ellie and she decides to make her decision with Abby. Like, it's not really. good versus evil. It's just complex. It's layered storytelling.
Yeah. And that's not to say if you don't vibe with it that you're wrong, because you're not. You know, like some people that message might not land with them because to be fair, this is a sequel to a pre-existing game that like has characters that we followed. So naturally, there is going to be that attachment, and you know there are going to be those expectations because of what the first game was. But I feel like just like when you like I don't know, when you detach that, which like I don't want to say you like are required to, because I don't think you are, but I don't know. I just feel like it's so much bigger than that and so much more than that. And a part of me does kind of wish that it wasn't. Like I would be fine if Last of Us Part 2 didn't exist. I really liked the first Last of Us game. I thought it had a really good ending that was like ambiguous but also conclusive. So it was like, you were satisfied with it. But I will say this game's ending doesn't satisfy me, and that's like one of the main things that makes me go like I really want a Last of Us Part 3 is because of that. But even if we don't get one, I feel like it is a solid 2-part story, and essentially I just don't think that The Last of Us Season 2 will be able to recapture that, but I still think it'll be good. That's just like a long-winded way of me like saying that, but rant over, I guess. I got off my soapbox.
I would just hope that for the show, like they do split it up, like as you were saying, because I mean, who even knows if there'll be a Last of Us 3? So I think if they were
Yeah,
able to like just make the whole series into like this 3-season trilogy arc, then I think that would satisfy most people, especially those who never got to play the game or just aren't into the video games.
yeah, yeah. It is very like interesting thinking about that from like yeah, this is literally based off of a video game series that doesn't have a third entry. So it's like we'll get season 2, and then it's like, well, that's it for probably the next 10 years. That's insane to me, actually.
Oh, it just feels surreal to me the fact that part two came out only 4 years ago and it's getting an adaptation just 5 years later.
True. Speaking of, man, 4 years. So we're coming up on 4 years since the release. I've considered, and I'll have to talk to like the other guys about this too, but I've considered doing a podcast or episode of Real Time where we just kind of talk about The Last of Us Part 2 for like the 4-year anniversary. Just like, hey, reflecting on it now that it's been out for 4 years and we've had time to sit with it, and we just like talk about like our thoughts on the story and stuff like that, and whether or not we think it's a good game. Because I don't think Christian likes it, so I think it would be interesting to like get him to talk about it and stuff like that. I don't know where Eric really falls with it. I know Eric enjoys the game, but I don't know how he feels about the story. So I just feel like it'd be interesting to like have a discussion about that. I don't know. I feel like that'd be fun. I would like probably try to like put it up like on or around the 4-year anniversary. I just feel like that'd be like really fun. Just like talk about The Last of Us for however long. But I mean, what would you think of that idea?
Oh, I'd definitely be open for it because I mean, there's just so much around the game, both negative and both positive. Like the circumstances under which it was released, the post-release of it, and just literally, it's one of the most challenging and interesting things to come out of Sony in the past 10 years almost.
Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely have to like talk to them and see if they'd be down for it. But I feel like that'd be really really fun. It would also give me a reason to finish my playthrough of it again because I never did when I got the remastered version.
Same. And it really actually made actual progress on this when considering that other playthroughs on other games, I'm still just at stage one.
How they really be like that? But
What
speaking
are
of
your thoughts on
oh,
what else PlayStation?
What else?
Oh, oh,
PlayStation? What?
well, we're actually thinking the same thing. Oh, what else PlayStation has coming up in their pipeline?
Oh, we'll get to that when we cover state of play. But since we've been talking about Last of Us, I want to talk about this funny little story from Sony, the interview they did with Neil Druckmann, where they basically just completely skewed his words just to stir the pot. I know they did just to stir the pot, because I remember I remember hearing about the quote, and people were like, "Oh," rolling their eyes, and then I saw because I follow Neil Druckmann on Twitter, and I remember seeing his post about like, "Hey, this isn't quite what I said," and then he posted the transcript, and it really wasn't what he's like. Here's the thing: have you seen like the transcript versus the quote from it?
I think I only saw the initial story that was printed or put out.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. Okay, I think this is actual. Okay, here's it. In the article, it says the closest Druckmann came to Sony's quote was, I think it just kind of opens the eyes of a bunch of people that just weren't aware of the kind of experience that exists in games. People even outside of gaming are looking at us to see what it is that we put out next. And he's talking about like after the Last of Us show and all that. And basically like the quote that was like going around was like their next title will redefine the mainstream view, or how the mainstream views gaming, or something like that. I thought I had it pulled up on in this article, but I don't see it on here. Hang on, I know it's somewhere.
Is that Sony at work? Just trying to hide or bury the actual words.
Yeah, and then they pulled the interview too because of that. I'm just like, I know Druckmann feels good about himself defending his name, which he should, because that's like, they knew what they were doing. They did him dirty. They did him so dirty.
And I almost feel like he's just not scared at all to clap back on social media.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely. After
even
all the
with
BS
The
that he's had
Last
to
of
deal
Us
with.
leaks,
Did you see Grounded 2, the documentary?
gosh, I had
Uh,
started it one day, but I just forgot all about it entirely.
yeah, man. Like when seeing the stuff they went through making that game, especially Neil, I was like, poor Neil, dude. This dude can't catch a break. And then like even before the game came out, and then the game comes out, and then even more backlash, and it's just like, man, this dude went from being on top of the world to, and mind you, like, you know, he gets a lot of hate, sure, but he's still successful. He's still doing his dream job, making the things he wants to make. But I just feel so bad for him sometimes with the BS he has to deal with. But I found the quote, the quote unquote quote that Sony put out was, it could redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming. Which, like, I'm just gonna read a little bit from the actual transcript. Here it is. He said, there's a new appreciation for gaming that I've never seen before. Like when I was growing up, gaming was more of a kid's thing. Now it's the potential of games, and non-gamers, they don't really know what they're missing out on. But my hope was, when we made The Last of Us as a TV show, that we would change that, and why I became so involved with it. I wanted so badly for it to be good because I wanted this to happen, which is like someone who will watch the show and really like it and fall in love with those characters the way that we have fallen in love with those characters and their story, and then realize at the end, wait, that's based on a video game, and then go check out the game and just see the wealth of narratives and everything that's happening in games. So now I feel like there's kind of a spotlight on gaming, and you know, Fallout just came out, and that's a big success for Amazon, and I find that really exciting. Not because games need to be movies or they need to be TV shows, but I think it just kind of opens the eyes of a bunch of people that just weren't aware of the kind of experiences that exist in games. I think right now we've hit a tipping point where it's about to take off, where people realize, oh my God, there's all these incredible moving experiences in games. So I'm not only excited for this game that we're making, and it's something really fresh for us, but I'm also excited to see how the world reacts to it. Because of The Last of Us and the success of the show, people even outside of gaming are looking at us to see what it is we put out next. I'm very excited to see what the reaction for this thing will be. And I've already said too much about it. I'll stop there. So essentially, yeah, did Sony like butcher his quote? Yeah. But at the same time, in a way, they kind of just summed up what he said. Because that's literally what he said. You know, he said it'll redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming. What he just said and all that right there is that. And because like I feel like a lot of people misconstrued what he meant. Well, Sony for one misconstrued it. But the thing is, I know Sony knew what he was talking about, but they decided to word it in this way that they knew people were going to get upset. I know they did it on purpose. Because they were like, people are always looking for reasons to get on Neil Druckmann's neck about something. So if they see something like that, they're going to be like, oh, this guy, he's so pretentious talking about like how his next game is going to change again. Like, that's not what he meant though, because realistically, those of us, like you and me, Boyce, right? Those people who know, for one, who know who Neil Druckmann is, and also know about the existence of this article, and the existence of this, or the existence of this interview, and the existence of this misquote, we're the ones that, like, we're hardcore. We know about all this stuff. So therefore, we aren't the mainstream. Like, he's not talking about us. You know what I mean? He's talking about the mainstream people who are non-gamers, who are being exposed to this world. He's going to change, like, the stuff that's happening with, like, these adaptations and stuff, and even the new game that they're working on might change their perceptions of how they view games. Like, people like us, our perception isn't going to change. He's not talking about us. He's talking about the mainstream, non-gamers. And so, yeah, like I said, they changed his quote quite a lot, but in some ways they just kind of summarized what he said. But a lot of people, I guess, just took it the completely wrong way. It made it seem like Neil Druckmann was being super pretentious about his next game. But what are your thoughts on this, Boyce?
Like when I had heard about the initial thing, I mean I was on Reddit, the PS5 subreddit, and the top comment had said that Sony should feel ashamed for themselves for just changing this around just to please stockholders. And this feels like one of those times where it's a reminder where, like, for developers, gaming can be a passion, such as with Neil, with what he talks about here. But then, like, for the business people, the corporate suits, it's literally just real estate. Like, a game is going to be, if it's good enough and it has, like, that level of spirit that resonates with the consumer, then it's a good product and it's going to make money. And really, this was one of those times where they took like genuine heartfeltness from Neil and turned it into promotional writing to hype up a couple of clicks as well as hype up the consumers with their wallet ready to purchase whatever he makes next.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely, there was ulterior motives. There wasn't just like someone, who's bad at their job or like anything like that. It was very much intentional, like 100%. It's blatant, and especially after they took down like it's very clear what was going on there, and that's like a really good point too. It's like, how can we profit off of this here?
And it's kind of funny, well, I mean, sad when all they had to do is just print his words, just print what he says instead of just
Literally.
trying to shape it the other way. It's literally the power of media at play.
Right. And what's crazy is I don't even know if I would know about this interview had this not been a thing. Like, maybe I would have, because he's teasing what Naughty Dog's working on, which is a big deal because nobody really knows anything about that. And it's also been forever since they put out something new. Well, maybe I shouldn't say forever. It's been like 4 years. But considering we don't know when this is coming out, it could probably be another couple of years before they put anything out. So I'll say it's been a long time. So I might have word might have still gotten out even without all that, but I just thought that was insane. I was like, I can't believe they did that.
Naughty Dog is pretty much in its rock star era right now, where any type of rumor or little snippet of news can be built into something bigger, or words misconstrued into something else just to get attention. It's pretty much what people did with GTA 6, like way before the trailer or leaks even came out.
Yeah, people will look for. People are like thirsty for something, anything. It's insane.
They're literally the Nirvana baby, just reaching for that dollar bill in the swimming pool.
Yeah, but I'm really intrigued by it. Even still, like it's exciting. Even with all the like stuff surrounding this interview, it is really exciting to know that like Neil is really excited about what they're working on, and that they're working on something that could be. I mean, what can only be uh, another single player story game. Like I can only imagine that's what they're doing, and I imagine it's something new too. I think it's going to be a new IP. So even aside from all that, I think it's still pretty exciting what he was talking about.
Yep, it's reassurance of his commitment to authorship and appreciation, like for really seeing the bigger picture of what he's wanting to set out to do with video games and what other people are setting out to do with their adaptations.
Yeah, and something I really respect about him too is like he's not trying to be a Hideo. He's not trying to be a Sam Lake. He's like these are the stories I want to tell. I'm gonna tell them the way I want to, and he's like really utilizing this medium in a way that I don't think many other writers are. And I think it's really, really. I don't know. Neil Druckmann just like writes my type of games. I don't know.
I mean, he's pretty much the Vince Gilligan of gaming, the one who did Breaking
Breaking
Bad and
Bad,
Better
yeah,
Call Saul.
yeah. I like him. I like him. I know a lot of people don't, but Neil still got my heart.
I even remember on Instagram, because of social media being such a more detrimental part to everyday lives, I actually wrote him on Instagram while he was receiving all the hate about The Last of Us controversy and stuff. And it was pretty
You're
much this paragraph like, oh, I trust in your vision and all kinds of stuff. I mean, looking back, it was cringe because I was like 19 or 20 at the time. But even though he didn't read it, I mean, still, I mean,
that was a good
countless
thing to do.
appreciate what he's doing, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably needed to hear that. Who knows? Maybe you did see it, but it's still good on you. Maybe we should shoot him an email to see if we can get him on real time. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you never know. Nah, he's too busy. He's way too busy. He's too busy working on Uncharted 5. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, man.
You could always message him and ask him.
Be like, hey, you working on no, I'm just kidding. Oh, good times. Good times at the Naughty Dog office. So Silent Hill 2 got that extended gameplay trailer. I know you're a Silent Hill guy. What'd you think of that?
Honestly, I was impressed. I mean, like, it's the first time, and this is the first word that came into like my mind, but it was just so nightmarish. I mean, that atmosphere, that vibe. And I mean, of course, I mean, I'd say it's as good as can be in some areas, such as in the combat or even like in the character movements, but I think it really sets out to do what it's trying to do, which is just bring Silent Hill to the current generation. And it does it well enough where I don't really feel like I have to compare it to the likes of the RE remakes or even Dead Space, because either way, horror is finally coming back in gaming.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I haven't really cared much about Silent Hill 2, because I've never played a Silent Hill game ever, and I don't know, but like after seeing what they more of what they showed this week, I'm kind of like, hmm, I'm intrigued by it. I would play that, especially because it looks like they're kind of landing their like the atmosphere really, really. Because I feel like it's so hard to like kind of capture that kind of horror, like uneasiness that you get from like playing older games. Like I look at like how the original looks, I'm like, man, that game looks creepy, and it's the same reason why partly why I like the OG Resident Evil, um, or at least well the remake version because that's the only one I've played. But even with that, I feel like the atmosphere of like because of it being an older game, right? Visually, I feel like it really aids in that feeling. But I feel like with even with like the more modern graphics and stuff like that, I feel like the atmosphere is really there and it's impressive. And I was like, huh, I actually really like the way this game looks, like a lot, and it made me go, I might want to play it. As someone who didn't care about it before.
Really, I think of like I'm content with it not even having like the graphics or like that level of polish that you'd see in The Last of Us or anything like that. Like, in fact, it almost reminds me of like an indie game in a way, like not exactly triple A, even though it is,
Yeah,
but I guess more so double A, like you're really still getting the heart of that story and the feeling and emotion it makes you feel from it. And really, I mean, it's pretty much the comeback that Silent Hill needs as a franchise right now.
yeah. Did you? Bloober Team worked on this, right? Or is working on this, or are they? What is their involvement?
Yeah, Bloober is developing it, I think.
Because I can kind of like when I because I didn't realize that
They
until I like it popped up and I saw it. And I was like, oh, Bloober Team, and I can see it because it reminds me of the Medium, which was Bloober Team, right?
and then there's some of the footage or like interviews that they've done for Silent Hill 2, like they even mention it like almost like how it's like the Quran for them in a way when it comes to their horror games, like blending in like that philosophical or emotional message with that horrific atmosphere. And of course, they almost seem like a tribute band in a way, but still, like you can tell, they're putting enough care and detail into it.
Yeah, yeah. I really like it. Also, the combat looks a little bit clunky, but I've heard the original doesn't combat is almost non-existent, right?
The combat in the original, like it's definitely there, but it doesn't really treat you like with the same kind of generosity that they would in most horror games today. Like you have to be careful with your strikes, and you don't exactly have a health bar.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you can use firearms and a blunt weapon, but they aren't always like the most reliable, at least.
Hmm. Yeah, because I've heard people say that they like that they're going for more like clunky or game or combat simply because combat isn't really a focus of Silent Hill at all, and so it encourages that survival horror element of like not being the most powerful like person that can fight off all these things.
And I'd say it even works especially well, I mean, considering the fixed camera angles in the original. And if it's kind of like the tank movements as well that kind of make it challenging, and sometimes you just might have to run. But in this new one, that over the shoulder, it still works pretty well, I think. I've seen people use Last of Us comparisons a lot when talking about it.
Yeah, it looks like a few different games, uh, in like combined into one, but overall, I think it looks really, really cool. And something that, like, as much as I'm really interested in playing this game, I'm also really intrigued as to why they went with 2 instead of the original for a remake.
From what I've heard, two is kind of the most adult out of all of them and pretty much the most well known because
Oh,
Silent
interesting.
Hill, the original one on PS1, yeah, like I think that Silent Hill, the original, really established the atmosphere, but two was what really was the game changer because it proved games as an art form, and it's probably the most the most played of the franchise back when it was first like in print in circulation. And two, I guess it's really a good entry point for just about anyone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kind of in the same vein of RE2, I guess.
Yeah, true. Because I've never even played the original 2 and 3, um, which I don't even know how I would. I don't think I have any type of way to access those games. But I really, really love 2 and 3 Remake. I like 3 Remake more than a lot of other people do. That's for sure.
I think it works like with RE3 and 2, like if you play them both back to back, it just feels more like a complete experience that way.
Yeah, which I did. Like I did that. I think I remember ordering them like both on Amazon around the same time, and just like when I was like getting into the series before Village came out, and I just kind of binged them. And I feel like that's part of why I enjoyed my experience so much because I didn't play it in isolation like a lot of other people did when it came out. Excuse me. Would you say that the first Silent Hill has like
Well,
faded more into like obscurity, or do you think it's just 2 is just more like well known?
I'd say it's probably a bit of both. Just like being that the original Silent Hill is only playable on PS1 and PS Classics if you still have a PS3 or PSP. And really, it's just so rare to find many of them nowadays because just of last week when I was at a local gaming shop, I saw Silent Hill, the original one, on a glass display case for $250.
Wow, wow, that's insane.
Very. And just to get Silent Hill 2, that was almost like a hundreds less, but thank goodness for store
Could
credit,
you
I'll say that
imagine? Okay,
much.
I know like Silent Hill 2, but like, could you imagine if they like did both? Like sort of like what Remedy's doing with like the first 2 Max Paynes. Could you imagine if like they did both and like released them as like a bundle or something? That would sell crazy.
That's actually what I that's actually what I would have loved to have seen happen because Silent Hill 2, I mean, just the number 2, that could throw some new gamers off. But then again, Silent Hill, anything with Silent Hill at the title, people would want to
Yeah,
rush at it quickly.
that's insane.
But Silent Hill 1, it's just so little known. I mean, based on from what I've heard from people in my circle, they just don't really know much about it. 2 is just where the cake is at.
Yeah, it's also surprising how many people like haven't played. Like even like really like hardcore gamers, a lot of people didn't get to play that game. So it's very interesting.
And really, the only way you can play it, well, most gamers who own the last gen or current gen consoles, is if you have an Xbox and you have the HD remaster collection. But even based on other what other people have said, it's not the best way to play it. Like it's not that genuine feeling, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's still pretty exciting. I think the game looks really cool. Just like the more I see of it, I'm like, and like you were saying, you were right about like the 2, like trying to kind of being like, Silent Hill 2, I don't know because I don't even know anything about the first game. But I mean, you saying that makes me feel like I can like hop into this, you know, as a newcomer. So I'll probably check it out at some point, because it is the year of the backlog, and I won't be. I know. Here's the thing. I keep saying that, and Eric's gonna laugh his ass off if I give in, but there are some titles that are coming out, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I might have to go back on this whole thing. But we're halfway through the year. We're halfway. It's June. It's June 1st. The date that we're recording this. I can make it. I can do it. But we'll see. We'll find out. Oh man, you want to get into the state of play?
You betcha.
All right, we got 14 games. We're gonna go through them. We might not talk about every single one because I personally don't have much to say about a lot of these. I didn't know if you did or not, but we're gonna go through and see. Before we do that, I want to ask, what were your expectations for the state of play? Were they pretty high or were they pretty mellow?
I would say they were kind of low just because the Silent Hill transmission was happening the same day, and that was what I really had my eyes set on.
True.
And I knew, well, expected that from this state of play, it wouldn't be anything like really major, at least in my opinion. It would mostly be maybe some little known IPs, like stuff that definitely looks interesting, but that I wouldn't really like keep my eyes glued to the screen for immediately. But I was able to watch it in its entirety earlier today, and some interesting stuff. Diverse range, I'd say.
Yeah, like. I ain't gonna lie. I don't usually get my hopes up for these state of plays. Simply, mostly because Sony usually puts out what's gonna be there on their blog post. But for the blog post for this one, they didn't say. They were just like, "Oh, we're gonna show 14 titles, and it's gonna be like a 30+ minute show." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty vague." Because usually they'll be like, "Oh, we're gonna show some indies, we're gonna show some VR stuff," but they didn't say any of that. They were just like 14 titles, 30+ minute show. I was like, "Oh, I'm interested to see what." I didn't expect there to be too many like announcements. I figured we were gonna mostly get updates from stuff, but I was still kind of like, I'm intrigued because I feel like if they had, like, if they knew what they were showing, they would just be like, "Hey, we're gonna show this, we're gonna show this." But I don't know. I thought they might have been like hiding something. They weren't. It was a pretty chill. It was a pretty chill showcase. We're still gonna have to wait for their eventual, big showcase that they hopefully will do this summer. But for now, we just got to stay to play with 14 games. Some were updates, some were new announcements. But I'm on the blog post now. We're gonna go through these. The first one on this list is Astrobot. Are you hyped for this, boys?
I, I wasn't at first, but when I finally saw the trailer, I get the hype now. And the fact that this is literally a PlayStation exclusive, no PC release at the moment at least. And then you see the homages to other station icons. I mean, I'm definitely curious. And plus, I haven't played a good platformer in a long while.
Yeah, I'm hyped. This is one of those games that's making me second guess the backlog thing. I'm like, this comes out September 6th. That's soon. I'm like, oh man. Like, did you play Astro's Playroom?
I played a little bit of it.
Oh man, when I tell you I played that game, platinumed it in like one sitting. I just that game honestly left some sort of weird impact on me. I don't know what a lot of people will be like, "Oh, it's a tech demo," but like genuinely, that game is incredible. One of my most fond gaming memories is playing Astro's Playroom. And so when I heard they were like rumors of like a new Astrobot game, I was like, "Oh, that's exciting." And then seeing the trailer, I was like, "It's even better than I would have expected." It just looks like Astro's Playroom, but like blown out to be a full game. And like right here, it says there's gonna be like 6 galaxies and over 80 levels. So I'm pretty excited for this one. And I think a lot of other people are too. Um, yeah, I don't know. I remember Eric
It
sent
definitely
something in the group chat about like the likes for this the trailer being like through the roof because people are like so hyped for it.
and it was I think the link he sent it was comparing it to the likes for Concord, which was like pretty much terrible.
Yeah, speaking of Concord, that was another game that we got an update for. Apparently, it's coming to PS5 and PC on August 23rd of this year. Um, and then there's going to be a beta at some point. But what do you think of this?
It kind of gave me the vibes of Guardians of the Galaxy meets Borderlands,
Yeah, definitely.
and maybe a bit of Destiny as well.
Yeah, I personally didn't know
I
much about
mean,
Concord outside
if
of the trailer, but when I saw what it was, I can't lie, I was a little disappointed. Even though like I apparently we knew what kind of game it was going to be. I personally didn't because I hadn't been following it, but I was a little disappointed to find that it was like a 5v5 like multiplayer first person shooter.
it's like I don't know, it doesn't catch my interest. I mean, the past few weeks I've kind of grown a little more forgiving of multiplayer games. Like they're there to have an audience for someone, but that one it just looks run of the mill to me.
Yeah, I especially the oh man, I was like watching the cinematic and I was like, oh man, this game looks like it could be cool. I was expecting like some sort of story, single player action adventure game, and then they were like, oh, it's a first person 5v5 shooter, and I was like, it looks cool. That's not what I wanted, but it is what it is. I probably won't be playing it, but I do think a lot of the characters look cool and the gameplay looks cool. I just I'm not for me. I'm not really a huge multiplayer kind of guy. So on to the next one. We got God of War Ragnarok for PC. This is pretty irrelevant to both of us because we play on console and we've already played the game. So it's exciting for the PC people out there, though. It's coming. It's September 19th. This one is coming to PC. So, oh, this is a good one, I guess. Until Dawn, the remake. What do you think of this?
Honestly, but I've just expected something like because I mean it still holds up pretty well, the PS4 version, but seeing what they did with the graphics and everything for this remaster, I'm pretty hyped for it. I mean, I'll definitely purchase the upgrade. And I'm even hoping that maybe it could have a sneak peek or teaser or something for the movie that's in development.
I forgot there was a movie. Yeah, that's why they're doing this. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I saw the trailer. I mean, when this first got announced, I was like, that initial trailer. I was like, what's the difference? Does it look that different? And then with this trailer, like the gameplay trailer that they showed, I was still kind of like, I don't know. Like it looks different. I don't know how much better it looks though. You know, because this is Unreal Engine 5, right? Or is it just
Mhm.
or is it just a remake?
I think it might be Unreal Engine 5. I'm not sure though, but something I did hear someone theorize on Reddit was that it'll actually have a behind the shoulder camera this time around instead of just sticking to like the fixed angles.
Oh, hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure. It'd be cool to maybe revisit this game. I've never beat it. I don't recall, but I like watched multiple playthroughs on it. It's a cool game, and I like you were saying. I think still looks pretty good. Like if you were to pop this in a PS4 right now, I think the game would still look phenomenal. So I mean, and like I said, from what we've seen, this remake doesn't look that much different. But you know, compression, and all that stuff, it might look insane when we're actually like playing it on the console on our TVs. So and plus, you know, like there's a movie in development, so that's probably the main draw of this remake. But it'll be good for people who've never played it before, that's for sure. because Until Dawn is a pretty cool
And
game.
like, and it's probably one of the few horror titles that you can say are PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, yeah, very true. It's also just like a really good decision based game too, because a lot of those can kind of fall flat in terms of like that. I just don't feel like a lot of them really commit enough to like it being like decision based. Like your decisions actually affect what happens, and it's very big on like the butterfly effect thing, which it actually kind of stays true to, because a lot of like games kind of flex that whole butterfly effect. You do one little thing, it changes like things significantly. But I feel like this game, it really does, like those decisions are like crucial, and it just has a lot of like really cool features, like the hold still thing, and it's a really cool game. So yeah, it'd be cool to see it
Just
brought to
imagine
current
the
gen.
tension, like the tension that would come from like the adaptive triggers on the
Oh
DS5.
man, I didn't even think about all those little additions. Yeah, it'll be fun though. Um, whoa, I didn't say when that was coming out, did I? It doesn't say on here, but it'll be PS5 and PC, so that'll be cool. Skydance's Behemoth, which is a PSVR 2 title, I believe from the same people as The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. I mean, I don't really play VR. It looked cool, it really did, but I don't have a VR headset, so I can't really play it. What'd you think of this, boys? If you had any thoughts?
I, I didn't think the concept looked great until I realized it was VR. I mean, the concept
Yeah,
still looks great, but I probably just won't be playing it because I'm also not like the VR mode.
yeah,
And I might be wrong on this, but this might actually be one of the first few games I haven't done my research to actually have like Skydance in the title or like above the publisher's line, because I know that Marvel's Captain America and Black Panther game also has Skydance backing it.
yeah, yeah. They're entering the gaming scene.
And Behemoth definitely did have that cinematic feel, though. I'll give it that.
Yeah, yeah. It really looked cool. I was just imagining myself wearing that headset, being in that world, and I was like, this could be really cool, but I ain't got one. So, what do you think of Path of Exile 2? Does that seem like your kind of game, or
Uh, hmm. Actually, I think that might have been one of the few that I didn't pay much attention to, but yeah, probably not my cup of
that's
tea.
fair? Yeah, I didn't play Path of Exile. I don't. It just doesn't really look appealing to me. But it'll be coming to PlayStation 5 uh, early access later this year at some point. So that'll be cool. Monster Hunter Wilds. Now this one actually, I don't play Monster Hunter, but whenever I see this game, like when was this announced? Was it the Summer's Game Fest last year? Or was it Game Awards? It was at some showcase where they announced this
I think,
game.
yeah, I remember it being the final trailer for one of the shows. I think it
Yeah,
was
but
Game
when
Awards.
I saw it, I was like, wow, this actually looks really cool. And I don't play Monster Hunter, um, but I'm sitting here like, man, this looks incredible. Like I'm pretty into it, but I feel like I would have to maybe dip my toes in like the other Monster Hunter games to see if it would be something I'd be really into. Do you play Monster Hunter, boys? Are you into this?
Not really. I gave Monster Hunter World a try a long time ago, but I didn't make it past the first act. But I like the look of this new one. I mean, especially when Capcom is at the top of its game right now.
Yeah, yeah, they've been doing their thing, and this game just like I said, it looks absolutely incredible. So I might see about that one. It'll be coming in 2025 on the PS5. So I got time. Silent Hill 2, we've already talked about that. Alien Rogue Incursion. What do you think of this one?
I saw the title of that on the list of announcements. I was ecstatic, but then I saw it was VR.
PSVR. Yeah. That be happening, man. I gotta say though, this made me like just seeing this trailer when I was watching. It just reminded me. I'm just like, I really gotta play Alien Isolation. I just need to, because I like Alien, but I've never played an Alien game because a lot of them don't look that interesting. But I've heard Isolation is like really, really good.
And the timing of it, I can't remember if it had a release date in the trailer or not, but I think it's a good time to actually try to regenerate that interest with the new Alien movie coming out in August.
Yeah, I haven't seen much for that. Is it? Where in the timeline does that take place?
It's said to take place between Alien and Aliens.
Oh,
It'll be the theatrical release, thankfully.
oh, that's interesting. So
And
then
it's gonna be from the guy. Oh,
what
sorry,
was
what were you saying?
I was just saying I might actually be able to watch it since it's in that point in the timeline. Because those are the only two Alien movies I've seen is Alien and Aliens.
Same here. And I kind of just glided through one of the Alien Resurrections, which was just all right. But it's also going to be from the guy who did the 2013 Evil Dead.
I I actually liked that one. Yeah, a lot of people didn't, but I liked it.
And the way he does horror, like, it's just so well. And he even did it, he had Ridley Scott, like, he was consulting with him on what to do with it as well. And it really looks like the first really good Alien movie since, well, Aliens.
Yeah, yeah, like that makes me way more excited because at first I was like, I haven't seen an Alien movie since literally Aliens. I was just kind of like, but like I said, you telling me that makes me actually really interested in seeing that.
And he even said that he himself, the director, that he played Alien Isolation and that he might be taking in elements from that game as inspiration.
Man, yeah, that makes me. Yeah, I definitely forget a Rogue Incursion. I need to play Isolation, but that'll be coming holiday 2024. So maybe that new movie will generate more hype for this. Marvel Rivals got a little bit more from this. Are you? We talked about this before. Do you still feel mostly the same about it, or?
Admit it looks fun, but also just not for me.
Yeah, same. I never got into like Overwatch or anything like that. Again, competitive like shooter type games. Looks cool though.
I mean, the female Galactus design did
Oh
make
yeah,
me curious, though.
that was really interesting. Well, if anybody's interested in that, closed beta test on PS5 in July. There's Dynasty Warriors, Origins. You into that?
I think I played a Dynasty Warriors game just once as a kid, and I was confused on how to proceed, but I just knew the moment I saw that spear take out waves of enemy, like the flashbacks just came running back.
Yeah, it looks
And
pretty cool.
I think it could be
Looks
good.
hard. It looks really hard, but like it looks cool.
Like, I think it's trying to attract like a certain audience, like maybe people who are kind of like who find fun in that series. I mean, and Dynasty Warrior Origins too. At that, I mean, definitely trying to pull in the new players as well.
I was like looking at it and I was like, I probably won't play it, especially considering I've never played Dynasty Warriors, and it just looks difficult, like I was saying. But So it looks like a pretty cool game nonetheless. It's coming to PS5 next year, so got time to prepare for that if anybody's interested in that. Ballad of Antara. I'm trying to remember which one this was. Okay, yeah, here it is. Oh yeah, this game. Okay, look at that trailer now, getting a reminder. Yeah, this game looks beautiful. Looks pretty cool. What are your thoughts on it?
This might tell you a bit much. Which game was that again?
It was like the one where like the guy has like the kid on his back. It's like I don't know if this is a Japanese game or not, but yeah, it was I want to say it was Tipsworks Enfold. But yeah, it looks pretty neat. The
I think
gameplay
it
looks
looks
good.
interesting.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Um, yeah, looks really interesting. It's a it's a free to play fantasy action RPG. Wow, free to play. That just registered in my mind. Oh, so I wonder how it might not be long then. Now I'm even more inclined to play it.
In that case,
Yeah.
in that case, it had my curiosity, but now it has my attention.
Right. It's coming next year, so that'll be fun. Infinity Nikki, you care anything about this? If you remember which one this is.
Infinity Mickey.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was like
Don't think that one registered well either.
yeah, it was like a print. I don't want to say princess. It was like it was like a cute little animal and like a girl, and like they're taking pictures and like it's very beautiful. I don't know. It looks really cool visually, but I think it's based off of a mobile game. I don't know. My girlfriend was telling me about it because she plays the mobile game, but it looks pretty cool. I think visually, like absolutely stunning.
Looking, yeah, I'm looking at it now. It kind of gives me like almost I want to say realistic Zelda or slash Mario vibes. Like definitely leaning heavy into that fantasy aspect.
Yeah, or like almost like a FF7 remake type thing. Like I don't know. It looks really really cool though. Like I don't know if it's a game that I would necessarily like play, but like I said, visually can't deny that the game looks stunning.
Out of most of because it seems like they've really leaned heavily into that Japanese style or fantasy style of game with this state of play. This one really has me curious.
Yeah, it's described as an open world dress up adventure game, which I've never heard that for. Dress up adventure. That's pretty cool. It's coming to PS5 with a beta test due later this year, alongside Nikki. This is like a synopsis, I guess. Like alongside Nikki, awaken the powerful magic hidden within various outfits and embark. Oh, okay, so like I guess your clothes determine like your magic and stuff like that. It actually does sound pretty interesting. I don't know. We'll see once we see more how I feel about it. I mean, my girlfriend will probably definitely be getting this game, so even if I don't, I'll have access to it probably. So there's that. And then Where Winds Meet is the last game on this list, which is Epic Wuxia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word right. Wuxia open world action adventure RPG set in ancient China, and is bringing martial arts mysteries to PS5.
Now, that one definitely caught my attention. And it wasn't just because of the Souls type combat, but just the entire atmosphere, the vibe of that.
Now that one looks hard. Oh
And
wait, is this? I hope I wasn't mixing Dynasty Warriors up with this game. Maybe they both look hard, but I know for the certain this one looked hard as I don't know what. when I was like watching it. I was like, this game looks hard. It looks intense.
Like, in fact, you saying Wuxia or Wuxia, honestly, it's been so long, I don't know how to pronounce it. It gives like it's pretty much in that same genre of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or even Shang-Chi to an extent.
Yeah, this like definitely looks like a man. Okay, I forgot how cool this looks. Actually, like looking back at the trailer, yeah, it looks really really intense. Might have to get some Souls practice in before I play this game, but I mean that's pretty exciting stuff to be honest. Like the game, like the combat looks intense. Like I was saying, like it looks fun, but just intimidating. Where I was like, oh man, I would play this, but it's kind of scary.
That's why when I was younger with those type of games, I tell myself, do not pre-order. Like for instance, do not pre-order Dark Souls 2 no matter how cool the trailer looks, because you'll regret it.
Have you ever pre-ordered a Souls game?
I bought the I pre-ordered the collector's edition of Sekiro,
What?
and I played through, yeah, like I got the statue plus the maps and the little katana letter opener. Like I just had to have that. And it was cheap too, just 99 bucks.
Wait, $99 for a collector's edition?
Yeah, with a
That's a
statue at that.
that's a steal actually. That's really cheap.
And I played through most of it just because I thought I had beaten it, but then I learned later after trading it that I actually didn't beat it. So,
Wait, is it one of those things
eh,
where it's like it has
technicality.
like a true ending or something like that?
Like, from what I remember, there's like a choice you made with like one of the characters, and because I was following a strategy guide at the time, I kind of made the choice, but I forgot what the choice was, and so then I had assumed that I'd beaten the game, even though I hadn't beaten all the bosses.
Well, you won, or you beat it. So there you go. You can say you beat a Souls game.
Yep. Even though Souls probably beat me even more.
That's funny. Did you ever finish Elden Ring?
I have not, and I've had it on my shelf for almost a year now.
Well, I mean, respect to you for even playing it.
And I,
So,
but I really do want to get back to it because the new Shadow of the Erdtree
Tree. Yeah,
DLC.
I think it's impressive that like a game can be so good that like people are losing their minds over DLC as if it's a fresh new game. Like I guess that's a testament to how good that From Software is at just crafting these experiences.
And it's even a greater achievement when it actually lives up to the hype, like with
Yeah,
Phantom
that's
Liberty, for
impressive.
instance.
Yeah, it's impressive that like even Elden Ring, just I don't know, like that game, like I've it's insane, especially considering like you would think that Souls games would be niche, but like Elden Ring just kind of blew up, you know.
And from software, it's crazy how they've kind of reached that status where pretty much any hardcore gamer will buy anything they put out, and they have the right to continue on with any kind of ambiguity of what they're working on next. Pretty much Rockstar or Naughty Dog status.
Yeah, yeah. From Software is literally up there. But yeah, I mean that was the
In
showcase. So,
fact,
oh, sorry, boys.
oh, no worries. Actually, I was even going to say, in fact, I might even like go back for From Software's like PS2 era games if they have any.
I didn't know they did actually. But hey,
Like,
you can do
I
anything
think
now that you have a
I know
PS2. So the world is the
that.
world is yours. We're just living in it at this point.
Yep, and heck, I'd even lend it to you or send it to you in the mail in Wilmington one weekend if you want to try it out.
No, I can't do that. Can't do that. One of these days, I'll get one of my own again.
But the showcase, it was definitely I mean, it wasn't predictable, but it also, like you
Definitely
said, it
wasn't.
was
Yeah.
chill, very chill.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're just like this is like the calm before the storm. Just like we got something big coming later on. We're just here's some updates for you, but our actual showcase. Oh yeah, you're gonna blow your socks off. I hope. I really do. I hope they have like some crazy announcements. I I don't know. I feel like I need some like I don't want to say like PlayStation isn't putting out any games, right? I don't want to be that gamer that's just like but man, The Last of Us, Uncharted, Ghost of Tsushima, Ratchet and Clank. They used to put out so many games. Infamous. Like, I don't know. I just feel like the output is just like, it's weird. It's very strange right now. I'm just craving that, like,
I still remember, like, you're craving that kind of like that feeling of constant hype, like where you're just
yeah.
in
Like, it
anticipation
was
of
like every
what they're
E3
going to do.
before, yeah, before like PlayStation pulled out of E3, like every E3 when you be like, oh, at this PlayStation showcase, we're gonna get something crazy. Like I feel like since they've started doing their own showcases, like yeah, they've been showing like cool stuff. They have some really cool reveals there, but I just feel like it doesn't hit like the E3 days. Where like E3, it was like, oh man, this cool demo or this cool announcement. It just doesn't quite feel the same as like that era. I don't know. It's like the development cycle, I guess, has increased a lot, and so it just feels like the output is just isn't there. But I don't know. It'll be crazy. Like if we do get a showcase this summer and like we see like Naughty Dog pop up on the screen, that's gonna be crazy because we don't see that often anymore. Or Sucker Punch even.
And
You know.
well, exactly, because whenever I think to PlayStation exclusives that kind of have like that definition to them, I think back to 2016 when they announced the four Juggernaut titles in The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, and Death Stranding. Like,
Yeah.
those
Oh
were
man. Like
essentially the
yeah,
four
dude.
PlayStation titles.
And like, don't get me wrong. It's like yeah, we know there's gonna be another God
And
of War. We Death Stranding 2 is coming. Like we know Naughty Dog's working on a game. We know like Sucker Punch is working on like we know that these games are in the pipeline somewhere. It just feels like we're being starved of them. I don't know. I feel like I've come across as like super impatient saying that, but it just does. It just feels very like where is this? Where are the games?
And it's even gotten to the point where the fact that people are just judging unpolished work
Oh
that are
man.
leaks that weren't even meant to be released to the public.
Oh, shout out to Wolverine. Yeah, it's weird. It's very strange. It's also mind blowing how like you would think as gamers that we would know at least a little bit about game development. Not everything, because obviously we don't make games, but like it actually kind of blows my mind how little gamers know about how games are made. Like they'll see like leaked footage of like an early pre-alpha build of a game and be like, "Oh, this looks like garbage." And I'm just like, "What do you mean? Of course it does." Like games don't just always look how they come out on the other side. It's a process. I don't know. It's interesting. It's weird. It's like yeah, did that Wolverine gameplay look a little clunky? Sure, but that game definitely isn't gonna look or play like that. Like, but what do I know?
Nagging is the big thing online these days.
Very, yeah, very right about that. Do you have any final thoughts on the showcase?
I honestly just really chill. I mean,
Yeah,
that Silent Hill 2 trailer, I mean, that was probably my biggest takeaway because, I mean, that pretty much worked out in PlayStation and Bloober Team's favor, or more Konami's favor, I guess, because that was pretty much what people were really having their eyes on, well,
yeah.
that day.
Funny enough, for me, the highlight is really Astrobot. If I'm being honest, that's really exciting. Um, but yeah, I'm
Just a pure PlayStation exclusive.
exactly. I'm just really looking forward to seeing when is SGA? Is that next week?
SGA?
Some or sorry, the Summer Games Awards. No, I'm just kidding. SGF, Summer Games Fest. Let me see. I think that's next week if I'm not mistaken. I love I type SGF as if it's gonna show me Summer Games Fest. That's definitely not gonna be the first results. What you got for me, Jeff?
June June 9th from what I'm seeing.
Oh, okay, good. Oh wait, no, 2024. June 7th. Oh man, I'm gonna be like out of town June 7th. I think June 7th and 8th. So I won't be able to catch that stuff live more than likely. Oh well, tough.
Um,
Uh, do you have any? Real quick before we like wrap things up, do you have any predictions for it? Like, do you have anything that you're like that you would either want to see or you definitely think that we will see?
well, considering how it's gonna, well, from what I can tell at least, focus on like independent games and reveals, my dream would be for there to be like for IO Interactive to show off the James Bond game, but I know that's probably never gonna happen, and it'd probably just be its own reveal thing. But in terms of indie games, I really don't even know what to expect at all.
I wouldn't mind seeing Little Devil Inside again, but I feel like after that recent update we got earlier this year, probably won't see anything from that for a while. Um, Uncharted 5 would be great. No, I'm just kidding. That definitely wouldn't be there. I don't think anything Sony related is going to be, well, maybe some, but like in terms of those actual like exclusives, they're definitely going to hold that for their own thing. So I feel like we can pretty much rule out anything like PlayStation. Probably a lot of like third party stuff. Um, we're gonna see GTA 6 demo. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, okay, legit expectations. I don't really know if I'm being honest. I've got nothing. Ooh, you know what I'd love to see? Even though I don't know if like Microsoft is gonna be doing their own thing or not, but I'd really like to see something from State of Decay 3. I randomly like thought about that game like recently. I was like, wait, that was announced, and we haven't seen anything for it in like 4 years. I don't know if it's been that long, but it's been a while. So I don't know. I feel like that's like I guess my thing. I want to see like updates from like games that we know were announced, but like we haven't heard anything about for a while. Just to like, be like, hey, we're still, we're still making this.
I actually do wonder though what Don't Nod Entertainment is up to.
They have a game coming out, right? That's along the lines of
Because
Life is Strange, or is that Deck Nine that's doing that? I can't remember what the game is
the,
called. I have no idea.
because the last thing I even remember playing from Don't Nod, well, actually, I don't remember if they did a Plague Tale or not, but was
No, that
probably
wasn't them. I don't
Vampire,
think.
Vampire.
Yeah, I heard the Banishers game wasn't too bad.
Oh, Yeah, that one's actually gotten positive critic reviews. It maybe just hasn't done too good on the sales front.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think in terms of announcements, we'll probably get some new IPs and maybe like some sequels sprinkled in there. I don't know. Jeff gets a lot of like, I don't know how he does it, but people be giving their reveals to Jeff. So I think we'll see a lot of like really cool reveals. Um, I don't know, man. It's really hard to say because Summer Games Fest is just so unpredictable sometimes to me. Just because, like, even like we think about it, we got like a release date for Spider-Man 2. Was it last year? I think so. It's like Jeff is really all over the place in terms of like the stuff that he gets. So I don't know. Still pretty exciting.
I
It's
really
just like I said, it's like I was. It's hard to say because like everyone does their own thing. So it's like Sony, Ubisoft, Nintendo. So it's like I feel like Summer Games Fest is gonna be just like a melting pot of different stuff, and then like the individual showcases will be more in depth on their own things.
really wouldn't mind another like media tie-in game, like something along the lines of RoboCop, Rogue City, or even something like I don't know, a reveal for just something that's kind of tied to a pre-existing IP, so long as it isn't another Gollum video game.
I feel like yeah, that's a pretty good prediction actually. I feel like we'll definitely get something like that. We've seen an uptick in that. They're realizing, hey, there's money in this. Then they're gonna do it. So we'll probably definitely get something related to a movie or pre-existing IP.
It's so crazy to me just how well they've been doing as of late. I mean, RoboCop was good for what it was, and Avatar from Ubisoft ended up being like a great visual galore.
Yeah, I actually want to play RoboCop. I heard it's really good. I I like RoboCop. I mean, I've only seen the first movie, like the original from the '80s, but I think it's a really cool concept. And I feel like a video game because it's a video game canon.
I think so. Like, I know it took out, like, it takes place after the second movie.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, it looks really dope. I wasn't interested in that one, especially because it like literally just looks like the movie, like the actors and everything. Like it looks just like it. I was like, that's insane.
And the guys who did that, they actually made a Terminator game, Terminator Resistance, that people who love the first two movies, they've actually absolutely praised that video game.
Oh wow. I wonder if I would like it. I actually, yeah, because I really like. I mean, to this day, they're the only ones I've seen. I literally own like most of them on Blu-ray. I just haven't like I haven't brought myself to watch them because I'm scared that they just aren't going to be nearly as good as those first two movies are.
I think it's because comparison is the thief of joy with any kind of media.
That's
If you were
very
to
true.
view them almost like if you were to view them as Elseworld stories or something like uh, Rise of the Machines, Terminator Saga, or a Terminator story, then I think you could enjoy them that way. Salvation is decent enough.
True. I feel like I actually am kind of excited to watch Salvation, mostly because, well, I mean Christian Bale, but also I just feel like the from what I've read about the synopsis, like it seems like it would be really like interesting, like an interesting point in the story to see. And I've also, like I said, I've heard good things about it. So I don't know. One of these days, I'm gonna do like a binge, just like watch up to. I think I have up until Genesis, because Dark Fate was the latest one, right? Yeah.
I actually
So,
saw that one in theaters when it first came out.
oof. I heard that one was rough.
It's like right after I was telling myself that it was such a great movie, but then I just woke up the next morning and then started telling myself how terrible it was.
At least you had that you came out of it like, hey, that was pretty good. At least you had that, and it wasn't
Because I
it
mean,
wasn't taken away from you
it
until the next day.
technically, yeah, like recency bias.
Yeah,
And technically, it should have been good because I mean, it had the director of the original Deadpool plus James Cameron's backing, but I mean, he'll back anything for a paycheck. No offense to him.
yeah. He's like, yeah, just do whatever. I'm gonna focus on my Avatar movies.
What would you say you're looking forward to the most, though, with Silent Hill, at least Silent Hill 2?
um, Honestly, probably just being scared. I was like watching the gameplay, and I was like, this feels like a game that I would only like to play like in a dark room and just like with headphones on, just like really getting like into that world. Cause that's I'm not like a huge horror person, but like when I do consume horror, I really like to feel uneasy, you know. And I feel like this game would really do that for me. Like I said, with all those things, uh, playing a role, but yeah, I think just the atmosphere really, just like it looks like it's nailing it from what I've seen.
Very much so. And just in the original, like the atmosphere, the environments, like they're so dirty in a way, and just, and honestly, it's really enthralling. Like it'll literally make you feel grossed out in some parts.
Yeah, that's why I like to. I like to feel sick when I play games. No, I'm just kidding. But no, genuinely, I do like. I just like when horror gives me that feeling of like, oh, like I don't know. It's something about it. It's like if it doesn't do that, then it just doesn't land for me as a horror product. Like I like to feel like I'm watching like Hereditary or
Like,
something, just like oh my or like Barbarian or Record or something like that. Just like those horror movies that really like make you ache and scare the living shit out of you.
creepiest thing for me ever in a horror game was probably the Baker Sons escape room tapes from
Yes, yeah,
RE7.
that one sticks out in my mind. Also, that puzzle kind of made me feel like a dumbass because like I was just doing the same thing he did and dying, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? When the answer is like right in front of me, just don't do what he did. Oh man, good times playing Resident Evil 7.
7 years ago.
For me, it was 3 years ago, I think. I didn't play it until before Village came out.
Somehow I envy that right now.
Yeah, I was really into it, man. I was really into it. I still like Village a little more, which I don't know if that's unpopular or not, but I think both are really really good.
Such a great duology of Ethan Winters.
Yeah, it was like it struck a good balance between like that survival horror that made the series popular and like the action. Like, it was like I don't know, it was a happy medium for me.
Now that I think about it, I actually still have to try out the third person DLC on Village.
I haven't either. I don't know. I feel like the game would feel weird in third person.
And the fact
Can't
that you
can't
just
knock it
never
till you
see
try it,
his
I
face
guess.
and the camera's just
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that, especially because we know what he looks like. But I guess it's just to maintain that eeriness, I guess. I don't know.
It actually is funny to think about. A theory I've heard is just because, like, technically all they did was just zoom out on his model in a way, and that's all it is, just a literally different camera angle, bare bones.
That's probably what it is, to be honest. I don't even know if they launched the game with that intention of adding that. They probably didn't. Because if they did, it's crazy that they did it with the intention of locking it behind the... Is it behind the paywall or is it free? I actually don't know.
I think it's been behind the paywall because I think you have to get like a gold edition upgrade or something like that in order to do it.
Hmm. That's wild. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know if it's worth it. Even those who like don't like the first person as much, I think it fits for those games.
Yeah, because they're not the action cheese exactly of like the like mid Resident Evils, like from 4 to 6. Like they're just their own trilogy. I mean, duology.
Yeah, that's Wait, that's something we could possibly see. Something from Resident Evil at SGF. Boom. There's my prediction. Right here, right now. We're going to see the next Resident Evil.
I'll take it. I'll run with you on that.
Alright, well, that's been Real Time Episode 8. Can't believe we're on 8. That's crazy. I think it's 8. If it's not, then we're in trouble. But, because that's where I'm at. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Appreciate your time, boys. It was a really good conversation. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Same here. I'll definitely be diving into Silent Hill 2 before I go to bed, just so I can feel that nightmare vibe.
Give yourself some nightmare fuel. Oh yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed.
See you around and enjoy that caffeine and drink.
Will do.